service here at about 2:30 in the morning. We had crews that arrived. They searched the area. We have thermal imaging cameras that allows us to see heat through walls. The initial call was not an alarm. It was actually somebody that had smelled something. The fire alarms never did go off. They checked the area. They were on scene for nearly an hour. They were working with on-scene maintenance. They were able to isolate where they thought the odor was coming from, but checked above, beyond, below, and found nothing else and cleared at about 3:20. We don't know yet. That'll be part of the arson investigation if that is actually tied in with this or if it was a completely separate incident. This call came in on the fire at about 6:10 this morning. Swiftly, once crews arrived, obviously life safety is first and foremost, so they started clearing the floors, making sure all occupants are out. Started attacking the fire. We ended up having to go to a second and finally a third alarm, not only to make sure that we had everybody evacuated, but to start surrounding, because once this took off, fire gets in the void spaces, ran the attic, started getting in the void spaces in the floors, runs through there, and it goes very, very quickly. So unfortunately, it got there faster than we could stay on top of it. You'll see the building behind us. Unfortunately, it looks to be a total loss. Everybody that has been displaced is currently working with the Red Cross. They're doing an amazing job to help folks, not only to get them fed, but also to make sure that they've got shelter. I also have to say that the management company has been doing a very good job working with the people, helping that, and trying to get them rehoused as well. I'll answer any question that you have. So if you look behind me and you'll see that kind of pipe chase on the exterior that's open right next to these windows, that's what they had that was presenting at first, was fire in that chase, as well as coming out of some of those little vent holes, the little tan vent holes that you see. So what that tells us is that it was in the void spaces. So if fire is, of course, in a living area, you're going to get an alarm. If it's in an evacuation space, you're going to get sprinklers. But if it's in a void space, it's going to run through the walls, through the floors, and it's going to be difficult to get a hold of.
How did the fire progress? From bottom to top, top to bottom?
That's going to be part of the investigation. We don't have yet a source or a cause, so that's going to take a little time.
Where was most of the damage?
The damage is throughout. As our firefighters were trying to get a hold of it, they really saw that it was in the attic above the fourth floor. But as I said, when we finally had to evacuate our firefighters to get them out to keep them safe, we saw that it was already getting into the floor, underneath the fourth floor, underneath the third floor, so we had to get our people out. That space that you see here, I think that's what he was describing as an awning. It's an exterior, but it was inside.
How long are you all going to stay on scene?
We'll stay on scene until we're absolutely sure that everything is out. So we've had several collapses within. So if you think about the size of those floors, and it's got lightweight truss construction, so once those get weak, the entire floor pancakes down. So there's still a lot of void spaces and some smoldering things. So we'll remain on scene to make sure everything's out. We've already had several partial collapses in there, and there is fear that it could continue. So we're keeping everybody back at a safe distance. We will have follow-up with structural engineers to check it out to see if it's safe to try to salvage anything.
Can you describe the information and the situation as it presented itself, where that decision was made to pull everybody out? What was going on at that moment?
Absolutely. So we had fire crews mostly fighting fire on the fourth floor, getting up into the attic. We had fire crews that were on the roof, cutting holes in the roof to allow some of the heat and smoke that's in that attic to vent out. So we had most of the fighting was going on there. And so to the individual firefighter that's inside, they're thinking, all right, I'm getting to it. I see it. I'm going at it. But for us outside at the command post, we can see that fire is starting to show that it's on those floors in between. So that's when we made the decision. We've got to get everybody out of there because we can't have it collapse. They're thinking all the fire's above them, but it's also below them.
I know that you guys don't have a cause yet, you're still investigating, but when the fire is in the floors and the walls, are there any possible reasons why this might have started, like a list of things you all would be looking into?
Well, it absolutely is a list. And so I really can't share that because that's going to be part of the investigation as they go on through everything that they can find. And as you can imagine, with the state of the building now, that's going to be difficult. But I will tell you, we've got one of the best arson bureaus in the country. So they'll be doing a thorough investigation on this.
Can you talk about damage around the building? were in this building and they're not.
Do we have a number on displacement?
Not a total number of people, but as far as housing, but 37 apartments.
So yeah, 37 units that were occupied, and we've got Red Cross and the on-scene management that's working with all of those folks.
Did people make it out on their own, or did firefighters have to go and knock on doors to get people out?
It was a combination of both. So the alarm was sounding, people were evacuating. We got in there and made sure that every room was cleared. There was one person that was transported to the hospital. They had already gotten out. They were out like a block away. They've already been cleared. They just kind of got checked out, and they've now returned. So they did go over to U of L this morning. No injuries, no smoke inhalation, no firefighter injuries.
Can you talk about any damage around the building? There was a lot of flooding, some cars. I understand some buildings nearby were also evacuated.
Well, if you look, the building that's right over here next door, obviously, since there is a fear of collapse, we have to make sure that that's safe. So we did clear the buildings that are nearby. As far as flooding in the area, we threw a lot of water. So yeah, that's going to happen.
Do you know where people's cars are? I had heard somebody say they're worried about their cars. Maybe are they parked underneath this building?
Yes, so it's not really obvious when you look at the front, but there is a garage on the first floor. So there are cars in there. There are also vehicles that are close. Once again, we can't safely let anybody get in there to get those cars out until we're sure about what's collapsed on top of it or what the structural stability is.
Can you give an overall comment? I mean, this 37 units, more than 100 firefighters in a very busy part of town.
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot going on here.
It is, yes.
How did we handle it? What do you think the response was like?
So our first companies were on the scene in less than 3 minutes. They had additional companies very quickly on there. Life safety is first, so they before you even start worrying about getting that fire, we have to get all the people out. So they did a great job of making sure everybody was out of there. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with this newer lightweight truss construction like this, once it gets going a little bit, it's going to take the whole structure very, very quickly. It's something that isn't as common. You see us here in the urban core fighting fire in buildings that are oftentimes 50 years or older. And the fact is, construction was better back then. They were a lot more solid. My house in Old Louisville could probably burn for quite a while. Get firefighters there, put it out, and we could still remodel it. The newer lightweight truss, it doesn't work that way.
So I understand there are no mitigation service like efforts that can be done for the void spaces.
What you see behind us, although you see the facade still standing, the interior it mostly has collapsed in on itself. So we are looking at this as a total loss right now. Obviously, once we have structural engineers that say certain areas are safe, we want to salvage as much as we can for people. We understand that's their property. It's very important to them, and we want to try to help them do it, but we have to make sure it's safe first.
How unusual was this that you arrived at 2:30 and there was no fire alarm? And did you have an alarm when you came back at 6:30?
There were alarms that when we came back, it was about 6:10, but it's not unusual, and that's why I say that's going to be part of the investigation. It could be a completely separate incident that somebody just smelled an odor and it was nothing. It could be tied in, but that's going to be up to the investigators as they go on and find that.
Was smoke visible in the early call?
As far as I know, they had just an odor. They followed up on it. They dug around, checked around, used thermal imaging cameras, and found nothing.
So, obviously, there's going to be a lot of fires this time of year. We've all reported on them. But what makes this one so significant? Is it the fact that this affected so many families? Talk about it. We haven't seen it so much.
That's what's so significant about this is you have a lot of people that are in there. You've got a large structure with 37 apartments that are occupied at a time of day when it came in just after 6 a.m. Most everybody is still here. So that's obviously it's scary. You're going to make sure that you've got everybody out. You're taking care of everybody. So you've got not only the evacuation, but then there's two things: get victims away from the fire or get the fire away from the victims. And you're trying to do that basically at the same time as best you can. When we come down to life safety, that's what we were able to accomplish. Unfortunately, we weren't able to save the structure.
There was firefighters who did go in and do the initial thermal imaging, no contractors.
So building maintenance was on scene with them this morning. Yes. So they came in as they were investigating. Building maintenance arrived as well and worked with them and found nothing. So usually the way we leave it then is the companies leave it with building maintenance and they go back and service. But they were on scene for nearly an hour. So they did a lot of checking, a lot of investigating to make sure that that it was a safe condition as far as they could find. check with my bosses. Did I miss anything? All right. Well, I really appreciate your time. If there's nothing else, we'll let you go. Obviously, this is going to be an ongoing situation. We'll have companies here throughout most of the day. And the Red Cross, like I said, I can't thank them enough. They're doing an amazing job helping all the displaced people. All right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
You want to just ask about
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about the.
Many community members that wanted to help us, if they could, what kind of they go and
I would like to